Hello, gorgeous soul friends. Welcome to my channel, Madame DeVaux. Thank you so much for tuning in and for allowing me into your wondrous experience today. So this is going to be the second video in a four-part series titled The Energy Body. And in each video, we're going to be discussing the different components of the energy body and how to maintain them. I already have one video up on the 7 chakra system. If you haven't watched that video already, I would recommend you stop this video right now. Go watch that video first and then come back and watch this video afterwards. Because there's a lot of stuff that I discuss in that video that's going to tie directly into the things we're going to talk about here. Today we're going to be discussing the auric field and how having an awareness of it can help you mitigate and avoid so much bullshit in your life. Like seriously, if you feel you're somebody who is just a magnet for bad luck and just bad shit keeps on happening to you, I can assure you the information in this video is exactly what you need. Because your auric field is essentially your God-given shield. It's this barrier that kind of protects you from external forces hijacking your energy and depleting your life force. Like, have you ever noticed that when you go to certain places or hang out with certain people, you feel super exhausted, you feel drained, or you're just in a bad mood? This is because there is an exchange that is occurring within every single interaction you have with everything in your reality. And this is especially the case with other conscious beings. The aura is essentially what emits and processes communication signals so that you can interact with and understand the world around you. When you feel someone has a certain vibe to them, you're picking up on their auric field. People who are especially tapped in, also known as like psychics and intuitives, can detect certain human temperaments, they can detect qualities of character, stages of spiritual connectivity, and different moods within the aura. You could really consider the aura kind of like your own personalized file of all the information about you since the moment you came into existence. And yes, this includes information from previous incarnations as well, which is why readers can conduct past life readings. And this is kind of what readers are tapping into whenever they read specific details on your life. They're kind of opening up this folder and pulling out information about different details of your being. And this is kind of how tarot card reading works. It's essentially your own pocket of Akashic information. And if you haven't already watched my video on the Akashic records, I would really recommend you watch that video because it ties directly into the stuff discussed here. The Akashic records is essentially just the universal database of information that we're all connected to. And your aura is your own personalized pocket of that information. So in my chakra video, I mentioned that we're similar to sponges in this vast ocean of energy, where we're constantly absorbing and releasing energy into the environment around us. Your aura is basically the energy that is being emitted into your own little pocket of space in this etheric ocean. And when intuitives come into this little pocket of space, whether it's by physically approaching you or even just by thinking about you, because remember, there's no such thing as time or space in these alternate dimensions. Everything is all just connected. So even by being thousands and thousands of miles away and just thinking about you, certain intuitives and people who are highly connected can detect certain traits that are manifesting due to the state of your aura. And this is how distance Reiki works. This is how tarot card reading works. This is why readers are able to pick up such specific events and information about a person, even while being thousands of miles away. So you could really visualize the aura as an extension of the human body. And it can even extend as much as 6 times the height of a human body in all directions. But this is the case for a highly developed person. So the more that you work on yourself and the more that you attain your own personalized spiritual mastery, the more your aura grows and extends. So people who have little self-awareness and are weak-minded, these people will have a small aura that can easily be compromised by others. And this is kind of where manipulation and mind control happens. And we're even seeing this being the case on a macroscopic level. You know, a good majority of people are still unaware of the subtle dimensions that exist parallel to this one. And that lack of awareness is being taken advantage of by a shadow force that runs much, much deeper than, you know, the political left and right illusory bullshit that we're being fed in order to keep us distracted and keep our hatred directed at one another. The lack of spiritual connectivity is literally the root of all the world's problems, including political ones. And I dive a bit deeper into this concept in my video discussing occult suppression. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely check that video out after this one. The aura, however, doesn't just flow around us. It is something that is also flowing through us. The toroidal space is describing the shape of energy that flows around the body in a torus or kind of donut shape. And in mainstream science, this kind of translates to our electromagnetic field. And if you've seen pictures of the Earth, she also has her own aura. We are basically just a microscopic version of our planet and of our star system. So because of the fact that Earth has her own electromagnetic field and her own aura, we also have our own toroidal field, our own electromagnetic field that is flowing around us and through us. So the human aura appears as a series of spherical toroidal fields, and you could visualize them like layers. And this is kind of where the different auras come into play, like you often hear about the different subtle bodies. That's kind of where this comes into play. You have a series of these toroidal fields that are flowing through you all the time, and each of them are connected to a chakra within the sevenfold chakra system. The different subtle bodies are basically just the layers that make up the whole of your aura. So they're all connected and they're all technically one, but they're just different layers, much like an onion. We're basically just living inside a massive spiritual onion. But each layer of the aura has its own frequency and holds different forms of information. So you can tap into the different layers and pick up different things about a person. But the whole of the aura is what is seen when you have somebody stand in front of a white background. If you want to learn how to see auras and you want to train your eyes to see auras, because we can physically detect them with our two eyes, it just takes practice. And because of the fact that collectively we're very disconnected from the energetic realms, most of us don't really know how to do it, and we don't really allow ourselves to practice. But the whole of the aura is what's seen when you have somebody stand in front of a blank background and soft gaze. And if you haven't heard of soft gazing, it's a term that's used a lot in yoga and other meditation practices such as scrying. It's kind of just allowing your vision to go fuzzy. Like, have you ever just been staring into space and everything kind of goes fuzzy? That's soft gazing. So having somebody stand in front of a blank background and soft gazing is the quickest way to see auras. You can do it right now if you want. Some of you might even be able to see the light emanating off of my body because I'm sitting in front of a white background. But maybe not. It might be easier to do in person. But some of you who are especially tapped in might be able to see my aura and the light that's emanating off of my body. It's best to do in a well-lit area. Just have somebody stand in front of a white wall and soft gaze. I can assure you, you will be able to see a subtle light emanating off of them, and that is their aura. When you see pictures of like religious figures and such, they usually have this light that's kind of emanating from their being. That is their aura. And there's a reason that religious texts are mentioning these things, because it all ties in. All religions are basically just different boxes of understanding for the whole, for the entire concept of our existence and our nature. So let's kind of discuss the different layers of the aura and what separates them from one another and what kind of makes them distinct. So the first layer is the etheric body, and it's closest to the physical body. It's kind of what represents the physical body. It manifests as the muscles, the tissues, the bones. It's directly connected to the root chakra, which is also affiliated with the bones, with the structure of the physical form. When you can see somebody's aura with your naked eye, the etheric body is what you're seeing. It pulsates at 20 cycles per minute, and it's stronger in people who are particularly active. So people who are active may even have an aura that is easier to visualize or easier to see with the naked eye versus somebody who has a sedentary lifestyle or has an immunocompromised body. Because the etheric body is weakened with a sedentary lifestyle. It's weakened when immunity is compromised. So when somebody is sick, their etheric body is going to be a lot weaker. It may not shine as bright. It may not shine as, it may not extend as big as somebody who is highly active, somebody who lives an active lifestyle, somebody who eats healthy, and takes care of their physical body, because they are directly linked. I mean, technically all of the bodies are directly linked to the physical body, but this one is closest because it's literally closest to your physical body. When Reiki healers, if you've ever had Reiki done, or any kind of energy work for that matter, but particularly Reiki, you'll usually notice they hover their hands a little bit above your body, and this is because they're tapping into the etheric body. It's the body that is going to help an energy worker detect certain ailments within your physical form, because it is directly linked to the physical body and sicknesses that occur within the physical body. So the second layer is the emotional body, and this represents your emotions, your feelings. It's directly connected to the sacral chakra, which I talk about in my chakra video, is all about the emotions. It's all about your emotional expression, your passions, all of that. And when you experience emotional distress, this subtle body is going to be the body that is affected the most. It's going to become muddy. It can become kind of like brown, kind of blackish gray, like just really, really dull. The state of your emotional well-being can be detected on this layer. So whereas the etheric body is more about physical well-being, the emotional body is connected to your emotional well-being and the things that are manifesting in your emotional state of being. So people who are experiencing heartbreak, people who are experiencing depression, sadness, like any kind of negative emotion is going to be picked up, any kind of emotion for that matter, but somebody who is getting energy work done and somebody who is going to a Reiki specialist, they can pick up on emotional distress in the emotional body. So the third layer is the mental body. This represents your thoughts, your cognitive processes, and your state of mind. And of course, it's connected to the solar plexus chakra because once again, all of these bodies are directly linked to each individual chakra. This body often radiates strongest from the head and shoulders area, which is kind of interesting because whenever you see religious art, there's often like a halo that is emanating from religious figures, right? This is their mental body. It's directly connected to the crown chakra. Even though it is, it's ruled by the solar plexus, since it's the mental body, it's connected to the mental realms, which is your third eye and crown. So it's often picked up in the head area, in the mental space. So when an energy worker is doing Reiki or when an energy worker is doing any kind of healing, and there's some kind of like mental illness that needs to be dealt with, they will often go to your head area and work on your head area as a way to clear up any disruptions of energy within the mind. Because every illness, including mental illness, is energetic based. Everything in our reality is energy based. People who engage in mental tasks or have an overactive mind, like people who are kind of overthinkers or very analytical, will often have a very strong mental body. And of course, when engaging in any kind of creative activity or any kind of activity that engages the mind, like logical activities as well, like chess and mental puzzles and all of that stuff, these are going to stimulate the mental body. So if you feel like you struggle with your mental body and you feel like you have some kind of blockage within your mental body, partaking in mental stimulation, mental puzzles, like, you know, brain games and stuff like that, or stuff that's just going to make you think. You know, stuff that is not just mindless. Any kind of game that requires you to strategize, any kind of game that requires you to think heavy, and to plan and to organize, that is when the mental body will become stimulated. As well as creative activities. Colored sparks can sometimes be seen emanating from this layer. Like when a picture is being taken of the aura, or people who can see auras can often see like little sparks flowing from the mental body when highly creative activity is being partaken in. So really anything that requires you to think is going to stimulate the mental body. And things that are going to kind of suppress the mental body are activities that are mindless, like, once again, just sitting and watching TV all the time, which of course in moderation isn't a bad thing. Like, everything in moderation is okay, but when it's in excess and you're just kind of always engaging in like mindless activity that doesn't really require a lot of thought, it's going to suppress the mental body and it's going to slow it down. It's going to slow it down its function. So you may even find that after a while you become mentally drained and like you can't really think straight. You know, you have mental fog, everything becomes very fuzzy. This is often related to a blockage or some kind of hole within the mental body. So the next layer is the astral body, and this is where we form cords with others, astral cords. Whenever you leave your body, anytime you go to sleep or anytime you consciously astral project, this is the body that is leaving your physical vessel. And it's directly connected to the heart chakra. This is the body that is engaging in your relationships with others. So whenever you have a connection to somebody else, it is through the astral bodies that there is a bond formed. When you hear about cord cutting and such, that is connected to your astral body. Because whenever you have a relationship with someone in your life, especially very deep relationships, there is an etheric cord that is created. And sometimes these cords can be good, like that's what keeps certain people in your life for long periods of time, is this etheric cord. And even if you separate and have physical distance from one another, you'll always find that people who you have cord attachments with, you'll always seem to run into them again and again throughout your life. Because, once again, there's no such thing as time or space in these alternate dimensions. So even though you may be miles and miles away from somebody, if you have an etheric bond with them, you're going to continue to manifest experiences where you come into each other's reality. So this is kind of where those coincidental situations happen, where you just happen to see that one person from 5 years ago that you haven't talked to, but oh my God, there they are sitting at the other end of the bar and it's so good to see them, right? Like that is coming from a cord that was formed in the astral body of the two of you. The astral body becomes stronger and it becomes active when we're in loving and intimate relationships. And that doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. Like any kind of love, whether it's friendship or family love, when that is being expressed, the astral body becomes very active. And of course, it becomes weakened when we experience breakup or conflict with people in our lives. And this can be like where resentments manifest. You know, if you have an etheric bond with somebody, but maybe the relationship itself has disconnected, but you still have that emotional attachment, even if it's negative. Like you can form attachments with people through resentment, just as you can form attachments with people through love. So even if you are like, I never want to see this person again, I can't stand them or whatever, you may still have an attachment to that person through your astral body. So when you're doing cord cutting rituals or you're doing any kind of energy work that involves cutting ties with somebody or cutting an etheric cord, you're working with the astral body. So the next layer is the etheric template. And this represents the entire blueprint of the body that exists on the physical plane. So this is directly connected to the etheric body because it is the etheric template. So it's kind of just like the blueprint of your existence. And it includes everything you create on this physical level, including your own identity, your personality, and your overall energy. And as this template changes, your personality, your physical features, and everything will change with it. And that's why you can manifest different physical traits. Like if you've ever seen like subliminals for longer hair or subliminals for a different nose or whatever, like, or any kind of manifestation technique for different physical features, you're working directly with the etheric template. You're kind of going in, you're changing the blueprint of your physical structure. And then of course it manifests differently based on that. So you can change your physical features. You can change certain aspects to your personality and your being with your etheric template. And it's connected to the throat chakra because it's all about your expression of self. It's all about your identity, your personality, how you identify in this physical body, how you express yourself in this physical form. And the throat chakra, as I mentioned in my chakra video, is all about self-expression. It's all about living in your true self, who you are at a core level. It's made stronger by expressing your truth and knowing who you are and living by that. So somebody who is out of touch with themselves will often have a very weak blueprint, and they will usually be susceptible to manipulation by others. Like people who tend to kind of follow others and don't really have a strong sense of self, like they place their identity on other people. This is often the case in romantic relationships. You see couples who kind of lose their sense of self. They become their partner and they lose any kind of identity. Your aura can even be unintentionally hijacked by somebody. Like, it doesn't have to be malicious intent, right? It can be by somebody that you love and have a lot of care for. But they might unintentionally hijack your energy, especially if you have a weak aura and you have a weak energy body, and kind of take over your identity and take over and consume who you are as a unique expression of source. So if you find yourself struggling with identity issues or any kind of identity crisis, your etheric blueprint is what you really want to work on. Your etheric blueprint is what you want to kind of go in and adjust and strengthen in order to come into that state of truth and come into that state of a strong sense of self. So the next layer is the celestial body. And this is, of course, the sixth body. It's directly connected to the third eye chakra, and it carries a very strong resonance because it represents your connection to pretty much everything that is divine, all living beings, all things around you, because we're all just different projections of God. Every single one of us. I am just a different version of you. and we're all just God. Like, we're all just different versions of each other, which is ultimately God. So the celestial body is kind of this representation of that connection to each other and that connection to the divine. Because the divine also expresses itself through plants as well, through any kind of living being. God is within everything. And that's kind of where this body comes into play. And this is all about feeling unconditional love. Whenever you express unconditional love for somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member, a loved one of any kind, that is when this body becomes highly active because you have that sense of oneness, that feeling of connectivity with another individual, whether you're aware of the divine nature of that individual or not. And that connectivity to spirit and to God is present whether somebody believes or is aware of it or not. So when somebody's highly connected to their celestial body, the person will be able to communicate with the spirit realms and receive guidance from the other side. So not only are you able to recognize your connection with the physical, but you're also able to recognize your connection with non-physical beings as well, because just as there are many humans existing within this world, there's also non-living beings that are existing within this world that are also highly conscious and are one with you as well. And these beings can give you guidance. They can assist you if you open yourself up to receiving that assistance, because they do honor the fact that we are on a learning journey. We're essentially going to school, you could say. And it's kind of like, you know, when you're in a classroom, you're doing any kind of assignment. You know, you can do the assignment by yourself and still get a good grade. And the teacher has the ability to help you, but if they don't know you need help, they're not going to help you. You know, if you don't ask them for help, the teacher is not going to be able to help you with the assignment. It's a very similar concept in our reality and in life. You have these highly evolved beings that are not necessarily always visible to the naked eye, but that doesn't mean they're not there. They're still very much present. They exist at a rate that is faster than the speed of light. So our physical eyes cannot always pick up on them. And they're more than willing to help you, but you have to ask for that help in order to receive that help. So when you are tapped into that celestial body, you'll be able to connect to and receive information from these beings. And of course, like, this body can be healed with unconditional love. That is the best way to heal the celestial body, is allowing yourself to receive unconditional love from others. And oftentimes it can be even harder to receive love than to give it. People don't realize that, like, giving love can sometimes be a lot easier than receiving love, because a lot of us feel we are not worthy of love because of, you know, maybe traumas, an upbringing where there was not a lot of love expressed. It'll just depend upon your own personalized experience. But the best way to heal the celestial body is through unconditional love and allowing yourself to receive unconditional love. Like letting people do nice things for you, or even doing nice things for others without expecting anything in return. That's the premise of unconditional love, is not having that expectation that that particular person or thing needs to recompensate you for what you exerted. Because everything is a reflection. So everything that you exert will always be returned to you. So true unconditional love is the recognition that no matter what you do for somebody or what you do for something is always going to come back to you in some way, shape, or form. But unconditional love is the best way to heal this particular body. Now the next layer and the last layer is the Ketheric. I think I'm saying that right. The Ketheric Template. And this is the furthest away from the physical body, and it represents the feeling of being one with the universe. It's very similar to the celestial body. It holds all of the information about your soul in this particular incarnation as well as previous lifetimes. So as I mentioned earlier, your aura is just this kind of pocket or folder of information about you since you came into existence, including your previous incarnations. So when you have past life flashbacks, whenever you have visions about past lives, deja vu of any kind, you are tapping into this particular body. And it is directly connected to the crown chakra because, as I mentioned in my chakra video, the crown chakra is what connects you to that sense of feeling divine, that sense of being one with everything around you. When this body is strong, it kind of gives you the ability to surrender to the path of the divine. And when I say the divine, I mean your higher self. So this is kind of where being a master of manifestation comes into play, being able to manifest your reality and basically live the life that you desire. You are essentially connecting to that passion, to that truth of your being. When this body is highly active, you'll be a great manifester. You'll be able to think a certain thing, declare it, and manifest it into your reality to be perceived. So when people say that you need to surrender to the path of the divine, it doesn't necessarily mean to just not care about what's happening in your life and just leave it up to God. Like, no, God is you. So you are determining and dictating what's going on in your reality with your thoughts and with your intention. So when you're connected to the Ketheric Template, you are basically coming into an awareness of the fact that you are the creator of your reality. You're the co-creator of your reality along with this realm. So manifestation is basically like a call and response. Like, I always like to visualize it like echolocation, right? Like bats and other animals such as like dolphins put out frequencies and sounds and vibration that is reflected back to them, and it kind of helps them see and perceive their environment. So it's the same thing with manifestation. You are putting out a certain frequency when you speak something into existence or when you think something into existence, and it is reflected back to you so that you may experience it. So this body is essentially what is working when you're an effective manifester. When you can think things and quickly and easily manifest whatever it is that you want or need, it's because this body is highly active. And if you're somebody who struggles with manifestation and you have a hard time materializing certain experiences that you want to perceive in your life, it's because you need to strengthen this body. People who struggle with the Ketheric Template and the celestial bodies are often people who are in disbelief of the etheric realms. People who only think that this material realm is it. Those people will often struggle with manifestation. Those people are often the ones that struggle the most with spiritual connectivity in general. So if you want to strengthen these bodies, it's all about allowing yourself to surrender and allowing yourself to trust that there is something outside of you that is working for you. It is working with you and it is working for you. And it's not even really outside of you. I mean, it's technically you, but since we live in a dualistic universe, it's just easier for our minds to process the idea of something outside of us. And that's why so many religions have a God that is outside of them. So those are the different layers of the energy body. Those are the different layers of the aura. And once again, as they are all technically separate and they're all layers, they do make up the entirety of your aura. So they are all one. They are all one. They are making kind of like this giant egg, this giant toroidal field around your being. The best way to visualize the purification of your aura is to kind of compare it to a glass container with water. So for those of you that are plant parents like myself, I know I always bring up my plants in my videos. I just love them so much. But if you have propagations, or if you have any kind of like glass container, like a fish tank is another great example, that can become muddled and it can become dirty, like the water can become kind of gross. When you stick it under a faucet and you purify the water and you put clean water in there, and the muddy water starts to kind of dissipate and drain from the glass container, that is essentially what is happening when you visualize your toroidal field. You're pulling in purified energy so that you can cleanse your body and push out the energy that is not resonating anymore. And oftentimes it becomes stuck because people are unaware that these bodies even exist. So they're kind of just sitting in this muddled energy, and they're not really actively purifying themselves because they have no idea that this muddled energy is even there. So I challenge you to take the next like 5 to 10 seconds after watching this video to close your eyes and visualize basically your magnetic field. And I'll put a picture right here so you can kind of have an idea of what to visualize. Visualize your toroidal field flowing through your being and just continuously breathing through it. You can even inhale and exhale as you push out. But it's all just a visualization practice, because the images that are being projected in your mind are real, but they're being received from another dimension. Like the imagination is real. It's just you're tapping into a different frequency, a different octave of existence. So the best way to cleanse your body quickly is to visualize your toroidal field. Visualize this energy flowing around you and through you, and patching up any holes that may be present within your aura. Because your aura can become weakened with a lack of awareness and a lack of attention, and then it can become compromised by others, and that's kind of why you'll often feel drained after hanging out with certain people. It is because of this hijacking. Even if it's unintentional, sometimes it can be unintentional. People don't even realize that they're hijacking somebody else's energy, but they just have such a low vibration that it dominates somebody else, and it pulls from the energy of that person in order to sustain themselves. And that's kind of where energy vampires come into play. But that is pretty much the gist of the information in this video. What is your experience with auras? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you feel like there's certain aspects of your auric field that need to be worked on? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section below, because I would love to hear your thoughts. But that is it for this video. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and thank you so much for being present with me. Bye-bye.